All right. I thought reviewing back on last week's game, I didn't think we played the way the game is supposed to be played from a defensive perspective, which is, for us, playing with tremendous effort and finish, hard shoulder tackling, playing with violent hands and block destruction up front, and then certainly having an urgency to create takeaways, and we did not do that to any level of consistency. Certainly that's not acceptable, not something that any of us as coaches or players are going to accept from ourselves. I thought, when you look at the game, our keys to victory, number one, was to do our job and to do it with consistency, and when the ball declares, play with a high level of intensity and urgency. And I thought we played too much on our heels against them. I thought, number two was to be situationally elite, which we have been at times, but this season. But I thought one of the real keys to the game as we started making adjustments against the run is that we were not able to get off the field on third and long situations. That's something that we've really been, we've excelled at this season thus far, but we were not able to do it in the game. And so certainly some things that we've got to make sure that we get adjusted and tweaked so that we can get back to playing great third down defense. And then, create takeaways was our third key to victory. And we felt like it was an opportunity for us to take the ball off them if we played aggressive and physical. Credit them. They did a great job of taking care of the ball and still having an aggressive mindset in certain downs, and they managed the ball and the clock really well. So when we don't get any of our keys to victory done and we don't play with Bama fundamentals, that ultimately falls on me as the defensive coordinator. It's my responsibility to make sure that we get our players to play at the highest level possible and to become the best versions of themselves on game day, and we certainly did not get that done on Saturday. We are all have an urgency to get that cleaned up and to get that better moving forward. I thought the guys had a really good demeanor yesterday as we met with them. I thought they had the right mindset, very workmanlike, ready to get back to work, challenging each other, challenging themselves, had really great conversations with our staff, had really great conversations with our leadership on defense in order to make sure that we're giving the players the things that they need to be at their best on game day. So credit them. They played with an edge. They had a bye week. They had a really good plan. They executed on kind of all their new things that they did, a lot of new things that we saw consistently throughout the game, not just in the first series. I thought for us, we adjusted to some of the things they did in the run game, but we didn't do it consistently. And then obviously on third down, we didn't get off the field. So really those are the two things that, we feel like we've got to be focused on moving forward, becoming more consistent when we do see some of those non-traditional run pictures that the triple option presents to you, and then getting back to playing third down defense the way that we have played. So felt like, really you look at third down defense this past week and then fourth down defense in the second half against Georgia, not to the standard. So really for 6 quarters there, third and fourth down, we have not operated the level that we're capable of. Otherwise, we're looking at probably different stories in both those games. So that being said, the guys are ready to respond on Saturday. We're already working to have a good plan thus far against South Carolina. Have tremendous respect for Shane Beamer, another coach's son, and have tremendous respect for his dad and the pedigree and legacy that he's grown up under. I think he's done a tremendous job everywhere he's been, both as an assistant and a coordinator in special teams, and certainly, what he's doing in terms of building momentum for that program. Overall, Dow Loggins, their offensive coordinator, I've known for a number of years. He was a walk-on quarterback at Arkansas when my dad was the defensive coordinator there, and then he kind of left right as I came in and played there at Arkansas as well. Has done a tremendous job in his career, numerous years in the NFL, and so they have done a really nice job of kind of fitting their personnel, getting their quarterback in position to be able to go make plays for them both in the passing game and with his feet. So we'll have a tremendous challenge for us for sure. But our guys, myself included, our coaches cannot wait to get back out on the field on Saturday in Bryant-Denny. I think we're going to play with a level of urgency that our fans will appreciate, and a response that we all expect for Alabama to have on defense going into this week.
Thank you, Coach. Start front right here with Nick.
Yeah, you touched on adjustments a little bit, but could you get more into what adjustments you tried to make at halftime, and then how Vanderbilt responded to those adjustments?
Yeah, so I thought really some of the plays that they had in the first half were some things that we had not seen on film before. Some things that they were doing out of on-ball tight end pictures versus off-ball tight end pictures. We made some adjustments with our front and some things that we were doing with our defensive ends in terms of assignment responsibility, and that helped us out on first and second down. Got them to a number of third and long third down situations where we didn't execute and get off the field. And then they did a really nice job of holding some things throughout the game, and so they would throw new wrinkles in consistently throughout the game, which kept us in a constant pursuit of adjusting to what they were doing. And I thought they had a really good game plan in that regard. But because we were not able to get off the field on third down, we also gave them more opportunities to keep throwing those wrinkles on. Whereas, you could point to probably 8 to 10 different third down situations where if we just get off the field right there, we're having a very different conversation about how we played there. So.
Front left, Chase.
Obviously, from the press box, we can't hear what's being said on the field, but it appeared from our vantage point that Malachi refused to be substituted for in the last minute. Can you clarify whether that was the case?
Well, Malachi Moore, I'm not sure anybody cares more about Alabama football than Malachi. And, in that moment, when emotions are running high, certainly, he has been held accountable, for some of the actions and the penalty that incurred there at the end of the game. I think Malachi's handled it really well with his teammates. We are, continuing to work to make sure that we address it the right way across the board. But I got to tell you, when we first got here, Malachi has had our back from day one as a coaching staff coming in. He's been incredibly supportive. He's been a great leader for our players, and really does things to the level and standard that we would want them to. Just in that moment, I think got a little bit emotional, and so in that moment we were going to try to settle him down just a little bit. Sometimes those situations, it's better just to let them calm at a later time. So, but again, I thought he has handled things really well since that point, and has taken the level of accountability that Coach DeBoer implemented, and has done a really good job moving forward.
Go to Ryan on the back right.
Coach, how do you evaluate rushing the passer through the first few games, and are you satisfied with what you're seeing so far? What are you challenging your guys to do?
Yeah, I think right now we have elements to being able to sustain being a good pass rushing defense. Right now, I think we're inconsistent against some the athleticism that you're going to see week in and week out from some of these quarterbacks. It's really critical that you keep quarterbacks in the pocket. It limits their ability to see windows. It limits their timing, and really kind of constricts some of these throwing lanes that quarterbacks can see. We didn't do a good enough job of that, and that's probably one of the biggest indicators of us not executing on third downs. We gave them space. We gave him time to be able to make some decisions. And then we didn't address some things in man coverage well enough either, even when we had a chance to get a guy on the ground. So from a pass rush standpoint, I think we have shown some really positive attributes there, but not consistent enough, to play at the level we think we're capable of on third down defensively.
Go to Steven, back left.
Coach, what's kind of a next step of growth from the young corners, especially when you're in position, you're trying to make a play on the football, just turning it and attacking the ball?
I think, it was the number one key to victory that we talked about this week was do your job consistently, all right, with urgency and physicality. And do not get bored at doing the same high-level job over and over again. And that's really challenging for a corner, especially when you're dealing with an option-style team where, you know, you're getting ran off, and all of a sudden now you're getting ran off and it's a go ball. It's a one-on-one. And you look at our corners, and those guys defended the ball in the air at times well, but we didn't do it consistently enough, you know what I mean, to be able to make the play when it mattered most. And I thought that really, you know, was kind of an overarching theme, is we didn't make the plays that we needed to make when the ball came our way as a defense, and they certainly made their plays, and that was ultimately the difference.
Go to Tony on the front left.
Yeah, just news just broke that Jaheim Otis has decided to opt out. Did you have a discussion with him about that, and kind of how did that go about?
You know, I think for Jaheim, obviously, you know, he's been battling some injuries. You know, has not been able to perform or produce the way that any of us would like. But you know, my focus is really on the players that are going to do everything they can to help us win football games, and so that's really where my focus is right now.
Go to EG.
Coach, simply put, how do you get this defense back on track?
Yeah, I think you know, I think for us, it's making sure that we're keeping the main thing the main thing. For us as a defense, there's a lot of good things that we're doing. Certainly when you deal with a triple option style offense, there's certain elements and things that you need to make sure you get cleaned up moving forward. There's certain things that we put on tape that we may see moving forward, and there's other things that, you know, are you're not going to see from a more traditional style offense. I think in times like this, it's natural for everyone to hit the panic button. And for us, I think we need to make sure that we're keeping the main thing the main thing. Are we playing with great Bama fundamentals? Are we leaning into our keys to victory on game day? And are those things showing up on tape? And then certainly for us, when you ask specifically, I think there's some things that we got to certainly clean up on 3rd and 4th down that really the last 6 quarters I don't think that we've done to the standard that we're capable of. So that being said, probably the only other piece to that is there is a way the game is supposed to be played from a defensive standpoint with physicality and urgency. And I thought we played a little too much on our heels last week, and certainly that's going to be the number one thought process as we game plan this week, is getting our guys to play at a really high physical level.
Go back to the left front with Colin.
I know you mentioned the difference between a team like Georgia or an offense like Georgia compared to an offense like Vanderbilt. Do you find any inconsistencies in terms of fundamentals that need to be improved over the course of those 6 quarters?
I think specifically when you look at it, really against Georgia, it was 4th down. You know, not getting stops on 4th down. There's some things in man coverage that we need to make sure that we're handling, and that goes across the board from the corners to the safeties to the linebacker support and man coverage. There's some things that we've got to make sure, you know, coverage is handled differently, be it off the situation, whether it's red zone, open field. But on 3rd and 4th down, those windows have to be as tight as possible. And there's some things fundamentally that we can keep working to clean up. We have shown those things. I think, again, to answer the question that was brought up before, it's about building consistency in your young men. It's about building consistency in your young players, and some things that we've got to continue to be able to work through. You know, I wish I had the magic genie button, you know what I mean, whatever you want to say hey, we're going to give these guys, you know, the experience they need to be able to maneuver moving forward. But sometimes you got to go through some of these hardships and some of these challenges and adversities, and then expect your coaching and those players have an urgency to get things fixed moving forward. And that's certainly what I expect from us this Saturday.
All right, let's finish up with Michael right in the middle there.
We talk a lot about adjustments and game adjustments. Can you take us through the process of how things are identified and then solved in that whole process?
Well, you know, you go into a game, right, knowing specifically this past week, right, anytime a team has a bye week, there's going to be a lot of wrinkles that you didn't see, particularly if you're dealing with a triple option style team. Those wrinkles are going to be, you know, even more so because they're things that you don't see. You know, you have a rep base in the spring ball and in fall camp that you're going through, and then the first 4 opponents that obviously when you deal with a team with this style offense, you know, there's a lot of things that formationally you're going to see different And then, from really an angle and leverage standpoint, you're going to see some different things as well. I thought we had a really good plan going into the game. I thought there were adjustments, that as we went in, we saw that there were some things in the first half that they were doing. We waited a couple of series to make sure that we're seeing things, properly, made small little tweaks and adjustments and calls. And then in second half, I thought we made some adjustments that allowed us to get them into 2nd and 8+ situations, and then, really 3rd and 7 or 8+ situations as well in the run. They averaged, I think it was 3 yards per carry in the game. So when you look at it, some of the exposure runs that we had early on were new things that I did think we adjusted to well. But you constantly are having those conversations about what schematically you want to call different, and then just fundamentally what you want to do differently in the game. And a lot of the things for us were just reinforcing fundamentals in our players. Hey, they are doing the things that we thought that they were going to do, or they may be doing 1 or 2 things that are a little bit different, and here's how we need to adjust fundamentally.